Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Maybe you've noticed this from watching TV in the past couple of years. When it's about tax returns or executive orders or, of course, Russia, the left strikes a law and order pose. Nobody, they'll remind you, finger wagging in your face, is above the law in this country. Nobody. Not even, drumroll please, the President of the United States.
He disrespects law and believes he's above the law. No person is above the law.
No one ought to be above the law.
No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States.
We live in a country where nobody is above the law.
No one is above the law.
An American president who has no respect for the rule of law?
No one is above the law.
Nobody, especially this president, is above the law.
It's one of their favorite talking points. It's highly effective because it's absolutely true. In America, nobody is above the law. That's the promise of this country. It's the best thing about it. It's why this isn't the third world. If only Democrats actually believed their own bumper stickers, we'd be far better off than we are. But in this case, they don't. Nobody is above the law? Please, spare us. The Democratic Party's entire electoral future depends upon making certain that millions and millions of people are above the law. In real life, our laws are unambiguous. Nobody is allowed to move to this country without our permission. People who come here illegally must be sent home. That's what the law says. The modern Democratic Party is built around ignoring and subverting that law. Just this month, the president called for ICE to deport illegal aliens facing final deportation orders. To be clear, these aren't people pulled at random out of restaurant kitchens. These are people who, at our expense, have received their day in court. They've gone through the whole process, and in the end, they lost and have been ordered to leave. They've chosen to ignore that order. They've chosen to give the finger to our laws. So if you cared about the rule of law, you would send these people home immediately. But the left doesn't care, so they denounced any attempt to enforce that law as bigotry. Hillary Clinton actually shared a guide to help these people, these foreign nationals, evade federal law enforcement, American law enforcement. It's insanity. But this is normal now. It is now mainstream within the Democratic Party to compare border facilities, our border facilities, to Nazi concentration camps. This is the country that liberated Nazi concentration camps. It's normal to demand the abolition of border enforcement entirely. Virtually every democratically run city in America has now declared itself a sanctuary for illegal aliens. In the state of California, even private businesses are banned from giving assistance to federal immigration enforcement, to ICE. Meanwhile, the Obama administration, you may remember, created an entire program called DACA, specifically to protect millions of illegal immigrants from ever having the law enforced against them. So maybe you support DACA. Many Americans do. We don't hate you for that. But don't lecture us about how nobody is above the law. Dreamers, the beneficiaries of DACA, are above the law, by definition. That's the whole point of the program. And it's just the beginning. There doesn't seem to be a single Democratic candidate in the race right now who believes in enforcing immigration law. Many argue we should reward lawbreaking with taxpayer-funded benefits. Watch.
On day one, I will make sure that, number one, we end the ICE policies and the customs and border policies that are violating the human rights.
If you could, would you kick the wall down now? Here.
Yes.
Like you have a wall.
Absolutely.
Knock it down.
Offer a home to refugees. That is who we are. That's our values. That's part of what we do.
So instead of building a wall or closing the border, we should choose compassion instead of cruelty.
We welcome refugees and bring people out of the shadows.
Immigration is not a security issue. It is an economic and a humanitarian and a family issue.
I think undocumented people need to have a means by which they can be covered when they're sick. People need, this is just common decency.
So come here without being asked, break our laws, take our benefits, denounce us as racists if you want to, and we'll still give you free health care. That's their message. And the message is not going unnoticed in the world's poorest countries. Since May 30th of this year, more than 1,100 African migrants from 19 different countries have been caught trying to cross our border. Now, these are not people fleeing starvation. Obviously, they had to buy transatlantic plane tickets to get to our continent. They're coming because they know they'll be paid more in America. That's not irrational. You shouldn't hate them for it. But think about what that means. There are billions of people just like this all around the world. Check the global population numbers sometime if you don't believe it. They're astounding. And the Democratic Party has decided that all of them deserve to come here and stay permanently at our expense. The law does not apply to them. This is totally nuts, and it's scary. Even some on the left think it is. The Center for American Progress is the preeminent liberal think tank in Washington. In a new report, CAP warns that the party's immigration positions could cost Democrats the next election. The report says the party's positions are so extreme, they're forcing American voters to choose between being a nation of immigrants or a nation of laws. In the end, most people are for laws. In a newly released Marist poll, only 27% of American adults supported decriminalizing illegal border crossings. That's a position that many candidates for president on the Democratic side have taken recently. 66% of Americans are opposed to that. And by the way, there's almost no racial gap there. A large majority of African American, Hispanic, and Asian voters believe it should remain a crime to cross our border illegally, of course. The poll also found that just 33% of Americans support giving illegal aliens free health care. 62% are opposed to that. And once again, the big majority is a majority of all colors. It's not a racial question, despite what they tell you on Twitter. It's just a lunatic idea. And most people of all backgrounds know that. Americans don't hate immigrants. They're not bitter racist, no matter what St. Pete Buttigieg claims. This is a kind and decent country. But it's also, and has always been, a nation of laws. And once we give that up, it's over. Victor Davis Hanson is a senior